Joining me now is Trevor Loudon to discuss the Socialist Democrats of America. They are helping the Islamists take over America. There was a jihadi several years ago who said that the only way to bring down America is a coalition between the Marxist and the Islamist. That was a jihadi known as the Jackal, Carlos the Jackal. The only way to bring down America is a coalition between the Marxist and the Islamist. And yet, look at this headline from the New York Post, November 11th, 2025. There it is. Meet Zohran Mamdani's newly named chief of staff, the secretive Democrat Socialist of America operative who helped to craft his lefty platform. We also have another article. Here it is. Seattle's new socialist mayor goes full communist, says she won't allow private grocery stores to close. I think we have another one I can show you. Let's see here. Well, I guess no, here's one. Chicagoans do not want us to bankroll the regime. Chicago will no longer buy treasury bonds. It is, as Jonathan Turley says, it is a self-destructive tax scheme and borrowing plans that would only accelerate the flight from the city and the collapse of the city's finances. But isn't that the goal, folks? Isn't that the goal, the collapse of America as we know it? Joining me now to discuss this is Trevor Loudon. Trevor, welcome back to the broadcast. Thank you for joining us by phone tonight.
Always a pleasure, Brandon, and greetings to all the audience.
Trevor, what do you make of this? And remind our audience, let's go back to Basics 101. We have a lot of new listeners. Who are the Democrat Socialists of America, DSA? Who are they? What's their history? When were they founded? What's their goal and objective?
Okay, they were founded in 1982 from an amalgamation of former members of the Socialist Party USA and former communists and SDSs who aligned in the New American Movement. So they joined, all those three groups joined together to form Democratic Socialists of America in 1982. Through the 80s, they were very deep inside the Democratic Party. They were very close to Ted Kennedy, for instance, extremely close to him. And also, their founder, Michael Harrington, back in the 60s, helped to design the Great Society, the Lyndon Johnson's massive welfare programs that destroyed black and poor families all over the country and we're still suffering from today. In the 90s, in the 80s, they were very much behind Barack Obama. He was very, very close to them for many years, put many of their people into office, had them working around him, etc. And they sort of went into a bit of a doldrum in the 90s, and in the early 2000s they were suffering a bit. But then Bernie came along, who's been working with them for many, many years. And when he ran for president, they exploded, going from about 6,000 members to nearly 100,000. Now they're sitting about 82,000. But they are a communist party. They're essentially, they call themselves Democratic Socialists, but the East German communist East Germany used to call itself the German Democratic Republic. And North Korea currently calls itself the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. So they are full-on Marxist, full-on communist group that get away with a lot because of their name that, for instance, the Communist Party USA couldn't get away with.
And, of course, would AOC and Rashida Tlaib, would they be a part of this group? Yeah,
they're both members. Yep, as was Cori Bush, who lost her seat, as was Jamal Bowman in New York, as was Jan Schakowsky, the Chicago congresswoman for many years, and also Danny Davis, another Chicago congressman for many years. They've all been members of Democratic Socialists of America, and Greg Kazar, too, from Texas is a member. And Summer Lee from Pennsylvania was a member as well.
So how many members in total are in the House of Representatives?
Well, current proven members, just 2, but ex-members is another 4 or 5, and ex-members who collaborate with them is 4 or 5, and there's several more standing in the next election cycle.
So now we have the chief of staff for Mondani is DSA, all right? So, we saw right away one of the things he's going to do, it seems like, is go after Israel. Take any of the money that the state, that the city has that's in any kind of banks tied to Israel or any funding. I mean, he's fully doing BDS, boycott, divest, sanctions, BDS. Why is he going after those issues first over what would be to see socialist Marxist ideas? Why is he going there first? Or is that okay with DSA?
Oh, yeah, well, absolutely. They're 100% anti-Israel. They kick people out who support Israel. They almost kicked out AOC because she voted for one pro-Israel measure once. Yeah, so the reason they're going after Israel, the foreign policy is the most important thing to communists, because the goal is a worldwide communism. So they're always looking at ways they can destroy America's enemies and destroy America's friends and empower the enemies. So Israel is very strategically important in the Middle East. If you can take down Israel, you get control of the Suez Canal and the Eastern Mediterranean. The Russians will get a warm water port in the Mediterranean. The Iranians will take over the region, and they are allied to the communists. So absolutely, both Democratic Socialists of America is militantly anti-Israel. Plus, Mandami is a 12er Shia Muslim. He converted to that. That's the sect of Islam that believes in bringing the world into chaos and is the official state ideology of Iran. So both of those, they're the most anti-Israel groups in the world, and Mandami is a member of both of them. Now, he's absolutely going after Israel. BDS, he'll cut off every possible connection between Israel and New York, anything that he has control over.
So tell me about the mayor of Seattle. She's saying that she won't allow private grocery stores to close. What is she going to do? Demand they stay open if they don't want to? I mean, what is she going to do here?
Well, she's a lunatic, and she is not known to be a member of Democratic Socialists of America, but they are certainly backing her and certainly campaigning for her, plus the Seattle communists, plus, the Seattle's had a lot of communist councillors over the years, but I think this is the first one, the first hardcore socialist mayor for some time. But she will do exactly, to some degree, what Mandami is doing, what Brandon Johnson is doing in Chicago, etc. He's another Marxist mayor. So, we're getting them all over. They're Karen Bass in Los Angeles is cut from the same stripe, and DSA has councillors in everywhere from Louisville, Kentucky, Atlanta, Georgia, Milwaukee, Detroit, Seattle, Portland, Oregon, Los Angeles, Portland, Maine, you name it. They are infiltrating all over the place right now.
Wow. Tell me why Americans should be concerned about these groups, because they're mostly in, looks like, blue cities, blue states. But are they getting a stranglehold in any of the red states like Texas or Tennessee, et cetera?
Well, they've got a couple of councillors, I believe, in Nashville. They've definitely got people in Memphis as well. Definitely in Texas, in Houston, and Austin and San Antonio. They've got 2 councillors, and so it might be 3 now in San Antonio, a couple in Austin, I believe, and others in Houston. But yes, they're also they're standing 4 people for city council in Missoula right now, out in Montana. So yes, they are going for the red states as well, but obviously and also Nevada. They've got people on the council there. Yeah, they're going wherever they can because there's a lot of these big cities, even in red states, are still susceptible. You know, you still have blue pockets in the red states. So, yes, they are establishing footholds in every state, but obviously more so in the blue states.
Mm. And let's talk about why they would, some of the, I don't know if that's going in Chicago, but Chicago is a dominantly Marxist, Islamic town. So some of these radicals there in Chicago, Jonathan Turley is reporting that they don't want to fund anything related to Israel. And so the regime, not Israel, sorry, the regime, they say. It's a bold statement, isn't it? Those words of Chicago City Treasurer Melissa Conyers Irvin hardly capture the moment. Yesterday, she declared that her office would no longer invest in U.S. Treasury bonds to protest what she called the authoritarian regime of President Donald Trump. It is more bonkers than bold. It makes about as much sense as President Trump saying that he will not eat deep dish pizza to protest Chicago. My hometown of Chicago is facing an economic meltdown due to towering debt and massive spending. Mayor Ben Johnson and unions have pushed self-destructive tax schemes and borrowing plans that would only accelerate the fight from the city and the collapse of the city's finances. Now the person in charge of investing that money is declaring that politics rather than economics will guide investments. Is this one way, though, they're going to collapse these cities by doing this on purpose? Are these people, are they that dumb? Are they that much of political hacks? Or is the greater agenda to collapse these cities as part of the Cloward-Piven strategy, if you will?
100% it is. You know, like you look at Detroit. That was the most humming city in the Midwest. 2 million people, dynamic city. A Communist Party mayor, Coleman Young, took over in the 70s. The DSA had several council positions for many years, Marion Mahaffey and others. Even as late as the 90s, they put a woman in there, Carol O'Claricane, to sort out Detroit's finances, and she was also a member of DSA. Mm. So, yes, absolutely. Cloward and Piven were both members of DSA, and their goal was they tried to collapse the New York economy by putting every person they possibly could onto welfare to stretch the budget beyond breaking point. And their goal was to destroy the budget, plunge the country into poverty, and the only way out will be universal socialism. So look, we've got to understand, socialists do not want happy, rich, fat workers. They want miserable, starving, desperate workers who will, grab onto any crumb that they're offered. So absolutely their plan is to collapse these cities.
How do they plan on getting reelected to office if they come in and do these kind of things?
Well, massive vote fraud, like in Detroit, that's a Democrat city. The worse it gets, the more they vote Democrat because the city council gives them more crumbs. They drive the tax base out of the city. They collapse the city, and all that's left are poor people and beneficiaries who will just vote Democrat because the Democrats will give them a little bit more wealth, $10 extra welfare a week or something. They don't care about the goal is to capital flight, soak the rich, drive the tax base out of the city, and turn every major U.S. city into Detroit if they can do it. It's absolutely their plan.
How about Weather Underground? What history does Weather Underground have with any of the DSA, Democrat Socialists of America?
Well, they both came out of SDS, Students for a Democratic Society, and Students for a Democratic Society split about 3 or 4 different ways in the 70s, and DSA comes out of one strand, and Weather Underground came out of another. But there's been a lot of cross-pollination over the years, like Bill Ayers and Bernardine Dawn have both worked very closely with Democratic Socialists of America for many years. Mark Rudd, another former weatherman, was involved with the Democratic Socialists of America in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and many others of that ilk. So you'll find a lot of cross-pollination, but they were from 2 different Maoist strands. But they have worked together. there's many former Weathermen and children of Weathermen that are now in DSA, and there's also a famous spy, Kurt Stand, who was caught spying for Russia and East Germany as a member of Democratic Socialist America, got 19 years jail, and when he got out, he got straight back into DSA, is now one of the leaders of their Washington, D.C. chapter.
So apparently the Democrat Socialists of America got about 100,000 members. And
they claim about 82, roughly,
okay.
But there's a lot more supporters than that, you know.
And then you add the Islamists. So are we going to start seeing more of, like, the chief of staff now from Mandani is Democrat Socialists of America?
Well, so if he chooses Brad Lander as a deputy mayor, which he said he was going to, he's DSA as well.
Okay. So are we likely to see more and more mayors taking over major American cities that are both Islamist and DSA co-partnerships and coalitions? Can someone let the studio dog in? By the way, Dolly wants in very badly. Yep, go ahead. Go ahead, Trevor.
Yeah, well, that's the plan. Yeah, we will see more of that. We'll see it particularly in New York, but it's happening in LA. It's happening. You know, there's a Muslim DSA member on the city council in LA. Mm-hmm. A lot of the radical Muslims, you know, like Linda Sarsour and that, are also DSA members. The co-chair of DSA, Ashik Sadiq, is a Muslim. They have a Muslim caucus in DSA for Muslim radicals. And a lot of people in CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations, they work very closely with DSA. There's a lot of cross-membership there as well.
All right. So what else should our folks know tonight before we wrap on this?
Well, just to say that, you know, DSA has very deep ties to the Communist Party of Cuba. They are working now on extending ties to the Communist Party of China. They have ties to European, African, and Latin American Communist parties, and they're also an associate member of the Sao Paulo Forum, which is a group of about 200 Latin American communist and terrorist parties set up by Fidel Castro to expressly to restore for communism in Latin America what was lost in Eastern Europe. And they're also very, very close now with the president of Mexico's party, Morena, which is another communist party. They're building very strong ties to the Mexican communists. So, look, they're a revolutionary party. These people intend to have a revolution in America, and they have infiltrated the upper reaches of state legislatures all over the country. They got a whole bunch of people in Congress, a whole bunch of sympathetic senators, particularly Elizabeth Warren, and very deep ties with the Islamists. So, yeah, their goal is revolution.
What about Sudan? Do you have any idea what's going on in Sudan? You've been following that at all?
Well, not closely. I know there's, you got Islamists and communists working together in Sudan against the Christian minorities.
Yep.
But that's a very similar thing in Nigeria as well.
Yep.
You know, so, and that's what you're seeing. You're seeing this red-green axis, the red for communism, the green for Islam, working in India, working in Nigeria, working in Ghana now, working in Sudan, working in lots of countries in Africa to basically, in Burundi, etc., to basically eliminate as much as possible the local Christian populations and establish a sort of communist caliphate across the African continent.
Yep, 100%. Let's take you over there. Let me go there myself so you can see his website, trevorloudon.com, trevorloudon.com. You'll find all of his books there at trevorloudon.com. Again, all his books that are so relevant, so much history, so important to know and understand. And to keep your young people away from your children and your college children, your grandchildren, give a warning to grandparents tonight and parents about their kids getting caught up with the Democrat Socialists of America. They're pretty active on college campuses, are they not?
Yeah, they got YDS, Young Democratic Socialists of America chapters on well over 100 college campuses, probably a lot more than that now. And they're pretty heavily into recruiting, that's for sure. And and it's easier to sell young people on a Democratic Socialist group than a communist group, but it is the same thing. That's what it is.
Any predictions as to who the Democrats are going to run in 2028? Is it going to be Gavin Newsom or AOC?
It's going to be a war between the Newsom faction and the AOC faction, and I would put money on the AOC faction, actually, unless something changes dramatically, between now and then. But
are you telling me we could actually see a President AOC?
Yeah, it's not inconceivable,
I mean, you realize, how dumb she is, right? I mean, she's dumb as a box of rocks, right? I mean,
well, she's probably got about 20 IQ points on Kamala Harris.
Oh, that's a compliment, I guess.
So she is, but that doesn't matter. They ran Kamala Harris, and she's dumb as a box of rocks. It doesn't matter who the presidential candidate is on the Democrat side, as long as they can win, because they are just puppets of the Democrat Communist Party, so they'll put it, and their whole strategy now in going forward, this is a rainbow coalition strategy of Jesse Jackson, the Obama multiracial coalition. They want candidates of color. They want female candidates. And so that's why you have Rashida Tlaib and AOC. And I would bet even money that AOC will be the Democrat candidate. And that may not happen, but she's got a better chance, in my opinion, than Gavin Newsom.
Who will Obama back, Newsom or AOC?
He would back AOC if it came down to it.
Hillary Clinton?
She would. She might try and go for Newsom, but she would back AOC.
And then, of course, Bernie's going to back AOC.
Yeah, no question there. If he's still alive by then.
You really see enough people voting for AOC that she becomes president? Or, of course, they could rig it, right?
Yeah, look, I absolutely can see that. They look at the Democrat. See, the Trump coalition has got a lot of problems right now with the Russian infiltration. The Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens Russian propaganda that's going through it, and the anti-Semitism that they're pushing, etc. So it's going to make life tough for the Republican Party, and a young candidate of color is the ideal Democratic, young communist candidate of color with a bit of charisma is the ideal Democratic candidate. So I don't put anything off the table. I don't want that to happen, but that's why the federal government has to go after DSA. It's a communist party. It works for foreign entities. It's allied to Cuba. It's allied to China. And it's a hostile foreign entity allied also to people who are working for Iran and Hezbollah and Hamas. The federal government should be going hard on these people.
And what about Ron DeSantis? How is it going to be Ron DeSantis fighting for it against, obviously, J.D. Vance?
I don't know about Ron, I like Ron a heck of a lot, but he didn't really fire last time. I don't really want it to be J.D. Vance, I will say that. But, so I hope someone else comes out of the woodwork.
I do too. I agree with you. Why don't you want it to be J.D. Vance? Be honest.
Because he is so much into the Russian propaganda narrative. He has swallowed. He is,
and he's been created by the tech bros, has he not?
Yeah, the tech bros, and Tucker Carlson got him in there. Well, Tucker Carlson is a pro-Russia guy,
and I think Tucker Carlson's son,
I'm rooting for Russia.
Tucker Carlson's son, I think, is on his staff.
I think that's correct. Yeah, he's too close to that Tucker Carlson, Curtis Yarvin, pro-Russia axis. I do not want him to be on the ticket.
Mm-hmm. You think Trump finishes out his term? Because I last night had Mark Mitchell on. Mark thinks the Democrats are going to win in 2026. They're going to impeach Trump. And he said even some of the Republicans could throw in with him to get him gone because they want to return. They want to destroy MAGA and return to the George H. party, not the MAGA party. They want to take back the GOP.
Oh, look, I think that's absolutely a possibility, yeah. And I think, and I don't want to see that to happen. But
no, me neither.
I certainly, look, MAGA without the Russian corruption that's trying to infiltrate it is the only way to save America right now. We cannot be saved by a George Bush or a Mitt Romney or any of that sort of weak or any of that sort of stuff. We've got to go forward. We've got to be bold. We've got to get rid of the illegals. We've got to, we've got to stand up to our enemies. We've got to free the country, and keep abolishing government departments and stuff. That's the only way forward. And that's why I'm fighting as much as I can against these infiltrators into MAGA. Who are discrediting the movement. Mm-hmm. But yes, if they are not dealt with, if they're not thrown out of the movement, President Trump could lose the midterms, and then there will be impeachment, and I absolutely guarantee some of the Republicans would turn on him and vote for impeachment.
And then that
I don't doubt that for a moment.
And then that would put JD in the office if they convict him in the Senate, which gives him a good launching point to run for president as president. Yeah.
So it's not a good. We gotta look. This is what I say. We got to save America. That's our mission. That's our spiritual mission, to save America. President Trump must finish his term, and we must take the House. Everybody listening should be active and working to make sure we take the House in the midterms, doing everything we can. That's the single mission right now in front of us. Otherwise, the whole Trump agenda stops, and probably so does his presidency.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you can start seeing them come after Christian radio, Christian TV, hate speech laws, all the things we've been warning about for decades. I mean, they're that close. I mean, we're going to turn right into Europe, right into the UK.
Look, we should know by now that the Democratic Party is a communist party,
right? And
the Republican Party is weak, is pretty weak. Not all of them, but there's a very weak, wet faction in the Republican Party. Only real MAGA can save America now, because if the Democrats win again, they will legalize every single illegal immigrant still left in the country and throw the borders open again till they have completely destroyed the conservative voting base, and they will come after our enemies. They are as vicious as Hugo Chavez. They will do to America what Hugo Chavez did to Venezuela. That is a promise if they get elected again, and there'll be nothing you can do about it. And if you try and have a revolution to overturn it, the Russians and the Chinese will march in here to help them finish it off.
And Hugo Chavez, that's hyperinflation. That's the middle class that I have on video eating out of dumpsters, out of garbage trucks. Literally the middle class.
Yeah, look, that's exactly. There is no middle class left in Venezuela. There's an ultra-rich elite, and everybody else is eating out of dumpsters. And scrounging around to try and get toilet paper or something like that. And I want to really impress, God does not want this country lost. But, and he gave us President Trump twice, and we better darn well make use of that. Because if we let President Trump get impeached, if we let him lose the midterms because we were too busy playing golf or we had our holiday in the Virgin Islands, that's not going to be good for us when we're held to account.
Well, and President Trump needs to get back
to stand up.
And Trump needs to get back to MAGA and quit talking about 600,000 Chi-Coms coming in here as students. He needs to quit talking about HB1 and how Americans aren't smart enough, so we have to import people to take their jobs. He needs to stop talking like that.
He absolutely is his own worst enemy. He does all these great things and then talks. What is that going to do to the base?
Well, I can tell you, we're already seeing it on social media. People are saying, I'm done. I'm not voting for him in the next. I'm not voting in the next election. I'm out. He didn't do what he said he was going to do. The uniparty's real. He's caved to it. He's thrown in with the big corporatist. I mean, you go on social media, people are demoralized this week from these comments.
Yeah, look, absolutely. So what's he thinking? Who's advising him? Why isn't J.D. Vance, if he's such a great pro-American guy, having a big word in his ear? Those kind of remarks, every time he says something like that, you lose 1 million voters.
Yep.
It's insane, but he's still the only hope we have left because the Democrats are communists. And if he's out of there, the Democrats will win. It won't be a Republican winning unless we get some knight in shining armor that none of us know about yet.
Mm-hmm.
There's always miracles. But look, we've had 2 miracles. We had 2016. We had 2024. Why are we going to get a third one if we blow the first 2?
Yeah, that's so true. TrevorLoudon.com, that's the website. Hope you'll check out all of his great books, historical books. And you can follow him on X as well. Just put his name into X, TrevorLoudon.com. It'll pop right up. Trevor, as always, thanks for being with us.
Always a pleasure, Brandon. And thanks so much to the audience. And please get busy. Go to my website too.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trevor.
Okay.
TrevorLoudon.com.
Bye-bye.